Hello, and welcome back to the 2020 World Puzzle Battle Championship. I'm a little upset about the final graphic because I am Grandmaster Robert Hess, but alongside me is not Danny Wrench, it's Aman Hambleton. Aman, glad to have you back on here.
Hey, Robert, welcome back to me. I know you've been working, pretty hard today, Robert, on the SEC commentary. We had the super exciting puzzle battle this morning, which was honestly so much fun. I really had a good time. So I'm excited to be back for another one here between Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and Jimis.
Yeah, and Jimis, he needs an introduction to the broader audience. They don't need to be introduced to his puzzle battle skills, but this is Dimitrios Ladopoulos. And, well, Aman, you said that you might have had a little bit of history playing online chess against him?
Yeah, I mean, definitely sort of a name that nobody will know, right? That he's been active playing for, I want to say a decade now, basically. A name that I remember from online chess, playing ages ago. I'm talking like, Chess Cube days, back when we had those websites active. So I really remember this guy's username, Jimakos, from online. Tons of bullet games. So I feel like we've just played so many games over the years. And here he is. Who knew he was such a beast at Puzzle Rush and Puzzle Battle? And here he is in the World Championships.
Yeah, and his opponent, well, that's a tough one. Somebody that you've also played probably numerous times online, but this is the world number 7 player, 29 years old. His accomplishments speak for themselves. The top player from France, sadly left out of the candidates tournament, but a real force in the world of chess. And earlier today, we had the matchup between Alireza Firouzja and Christopher Yu, and that one was really a heated battle. So as we pull up the frame-by-frame scoring of that one, it was actually a 1-point affair in Christopher Yu's favor. So what do you expect in this one compared to the earlier matchup, Aman? Do you expect it to be as close?
Well, first of all, I think everyone here should pay attention to the seeding. Of course, Ladopoulos, they're second seeded compared to MVL. And as we often say, when we have like a super GM, top 10 player in the world against one of these, I guess, puzzle battle specialists, you don't get to say that a guy like MVL is the underdog very often, and he certainly is today. I don't think there's any way around that. We're dealing with Ladopoulos here, who can definitely put up consistent 50-point rushes, and I think that puts him in a whole different tier of some of the people like Firouzja and Yu. Was honestly the most insane match. It was the closest, but those guys I think are in a different league than guys like Robson, Neiman, Ladopoulos. These guys can put up 50s in Puzzle Rush. And MVL, I think, in terms of the David Goliath matchup, you're rooting for him, right? Just as a chess professional, as a chess player, as a grandmaster, you're like, come on, show him that title is worth something in Puzzle Rushes as well. But it's going to be an exciting one today. I think that Ladopoulos is the heavy favorite. But if MVL is on point, if he can come close to the 50 mark, or if Dimitrios Ladopoulos is nervous in any way, we could see maybe some different scores than people might expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Ladopoulos won his heat earlier in the week. So he, earned his spot in this final 8 here. And just remind everybody what they're playing for. It's a total prize fund of $11,000. More money to be earned if they can make it to the semis and the finals. But I think we're a minute away now from this one taking off. And I'm just super fascinating how Jimis 9-8, Mr. Ladopoulos here, how he's going to be able to handle Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, because MVL can keep pace with Jimis. And I think that's the toughest part for Jimis, is controlling the nerves, making sure that, okay, I'm doing well, but I'm looking to the side, quickly glancing. Oh, no, there's MVL. He has the same exact score as me. I don't think he's so accustomed to that. And I actually think having so much experience in that regard can hurt psychologically, whereas MVL is, he's just not used to playing that much Puzzle Rush and Puzzle Battle at all.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. I think MVL is also relaxed. Like he's Maxime, right? He knows he's probably the underdog in this format. And Jimis over there, he's used to putting up huge scores, but he's not used to doing it on a big stage like this. There's a lot of people watching, and for a guy who's not titled, he's just 2250 from Greece, and all of a sudden he's this Puzzle Rush king. Is he going to be able to control the nerves when he has, an insanely strong player right beside him in MVL? So we'll have to see, I think, how that first rush goes. for Ladopoulos, and whether it's up to the standards that we've seen from him thus far.
And well, the standards are very high because there's rarely been a time when he scored under like high 40s. So the guy just doesn't fail like let's say a Neiman or some of these other players where they just like totally collapse and have a low scoring affair. We have not seen that from Ladopoulos, but right now he's out to a half step lead over MVL, but MVL keeping pace here. These tactics will get harder eventually, but right now, no problem for these two.
Yep. No, they're basically on the exact same puzzles. Maybe a little bit of a lead for Ladopoulos, but these guys are basically toe to toe right now.
Yeah, they really are. And, the harder the puzzles get, well, the more time they'll spend. And, honestly, Ladopoulos, he's got that little half step, now maybe 1.5 steps on MVL. But I am very curious as these things get more deep into the time here, that if, let's say Ladopoulos gets one incorrect answer, again, the psychology of it, MVL expects himself to make mistakes at points. He's relatively new to this. He's not trying to go 50 out of 50. Well, of course he's trying to do that, but he's not expecting that. Queen F2, Queen F1. Oh, sorry, that's a bishop on F8 on a rook. Never mind. See, that's how I blunder, is I think bishops are rooks for Maxime. But let's focus our energy on the right-hand side with Jimis there.
Yes.
Finding every single tactic.
Every single tactic. I mean, these guys at this point are on really good pace. I don't think they were on, like record-setting pace. I think they were just under about 23, 24 at 2 minutes, which is a good, place to just check the speed. But none of them are wrong so far. I mean, look at these check marks everywhere, Robert.
Yeah, this is the 2 versus 7 matchup, but it almost looks like, it could be a 2 versus 3. And there we go. MVL has the first mistake of this battle here. And one mistake, doesn't doom you, but a second mistake would be way too costly for Maxime at this point. He's already down several points here in this battle.
Yeah, I think early on you're definitely going to see MVL probably keep pace, but Jimis really shines in that. To me, it's like the 35 to 50 area. As we see here, just pretty much got 45 seconds. He's coming up to now. That's at 44. So we might see just a 50 to start off, and he is looking comfortable.
He is, and a big opening round score for Jimis. And he has one incorrect, so we'll keep an eye on whichever one that was, because it's important to analyze our mistakes, even in puzzle battle. But still 4-point lead for Jimis. Oh, second incorrect answer for Maxime.
Right.
And Jimis he's eyeing this position a little stuck, but nope, not stuck
Maxime
for long.
Maxime has to get knight d6, knight f5. I remember from
puzzle. He went knight f2 for the mate, but that's not the right way to go. And Jimis, can he get one more here?
Gonna get the 50. Oh, bishop h6 probably does it at the end there.
Maybe queen h6. Yeah. So there were options there. And let's look at the puzzles that went wrong. And we had this puzzle here. The first move was rook takes f5. And I don't remember what was gone. Do you remember what he went for in the battle?
Here after rook takes f5. No, I didn't see what he played here.
Well, this is actually an annoying position because white is also trying to checkmate black with queen h6 to g7. And this queen on a8 looks perfect, right? Hitting the long diagonal. So you just need your rook. If I could put my rook on c2, it'd already be game over putting this king in check. So the first move is knight e4 with the tempo on this queen on g5. And after queen h6 threatening mate, I say rook d2 check. And the best you can do is sacrifice your queen for the rook, because most of these lines will result in mating then anyway, and your king will have to sort of enter this kind of diagonal.
And I guess it's also probably an important, just because knight e2, rook takes e2, king g1 to me still looked a little tricky, but I guess it's rook e1 there in that position.
Yeah, rook e1 looks good. You can also play knight takes f6, removing the guard from the checkmate and then checkmating your opponent yourself. So rook e1 is really nice in the sense that, hey, if you make this move king h2, here comes rook h1 check.
Right.
King takes knight g3 here. Oh, but that's not mate. But I can just go knight takes.
I can grab the rook at least.
Defending and attacking at the same time. That's really pretty. So I like that. We're spotting different kind of mechanisms here to salvage this. And let's look at one more puzzle here, because MVL made a mistake in this puzzle, and the start is rook c1 check, which makes sense. You're down a queen, put that king in check. And after rook c2 takes bishop c3. So where did he go wrong here? Like this
here
is...
he must have played like he must have gone like rook d3 instead of rook c4 or something, maybe like once the king's on d4, just thinking, because obviously he's going to take those pieces. He must have put the rook on the wrong square here, or there's no way he misses if he plays rook c4.
Yeah, because the king runs out of moves. The only reason why the king isn't getting made immediately after rook d7 is that rook is under attack. And so maybe rook d3 was played, which gives the c5 square. And, I guess technically you can just go force checkmate again because, well, the king has nowhere to run to. But, of course, the right answer is rook c4 check, and king d5, rook d7 is check and mate.
Wow.
Well, we're about to be off again, so let us keep our attention on these two players. And it's a 7-0 lead right now for Jimis. Do you think Maxime has it in him to take Jimis out? He's down 7.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot, and you have to remember that that's when Maxime scored 43, right? To be down 7 scoring, like that's insane. You never expect scores like that. So he's certainly got his work cut out for him, but I think it all comes down to just composure. Like if Jimis is approaching the problems and not getting early ones wrong, and he continues the way that first rush was, I think MVL's in big trouble.
Yeah, because at a certain point, you just have to win your head-to-head battle, which would require Jimis to slip early, which he never, ever does. Right? I don't think I've ever seen Jimis make a mistake on puzzle 20. His mistakes come on puzzle 40.
Yeah.
And that's brutal.
Yeah, no, he is so fast with these early on. It's the way, how quickly he's processing these positions is incredible.
Yep, and I want to give a shout out to everybody still with us, whether it's on Chess TV, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know where you're watching from, but appreciate all the support here. And Jimis putting on a show against one of the top 10 players in the world. He's just too fast. He's too accurate. And Maxime is facing an uphill battle. Now he's down 9 in this one.
Yeah, this is incredible. Like I think that the problems are actually insanely tricky. I really think that these are some half decent puzzles. Like they're not easy, but Jimis is absolutely shattering. Like he's just going so quickly through them. I can barely process the position.
Yeah, that's been the issue all day, though I think it did help me for the Speechless Championship commentary, where I was pretty tactically alert thanks to Alireza and Chris Yu.
I saw that. Yes, shout out to that.
But here, I mean, I'm looking at the screen. I'm distracted. I'm trying to focus on MVL. Like, does he have any hope? But he's down 10.
This is insane. He has 42 is a minute 07. This is going to be like the highest score we've ever seen for sure.
Oh my gosh. And now, this is ridiculous. And I don't even know if any have been particularly, insanely difficult, but it feels like the guy is just solving everything and nothing phases him at all.
Oh my God. And what was the highest score we've seen in the championship so far? Was it Ray's? Like, I think he got 52 maybe.
I am not sure, but Jimis did get one wrong. He did make a mistake. Oof. And he's well on his way to a score in the 50s, but he's slowing down. He's making sure that he remains accurate. And at 48 with 30 seconds left.
Oh my goodness. This is so quick. He's getting them wrong. Another one wrong for Jimis. So he's back on human pace.
Back on human pace, indeed. And the puzzles are very difficult, but he's still up 7. So even if he doesn't break 50, now he's up 6, he's still building on his differential. He's 3 incorrect answers. So, 3 strikes, you're out for Jimis. And Maxime could cut the score if he finds what Jimis found. It. Nope. Sadly for Maxime, he doesn't find it. And I want to actually start with that puzzle as we analyze these positions, 48-43 final score. But I have that puzzle in front of us because Jimis found it and MVL ended on this puzzle, a really nice one. And well, Aman, let you take us through this position. What are your thoughts initially when you come into a position like this?
Wow. Last move was taking on G4 by Black. So for me, it's either the H file or the A1 to H8 diagonal. Those are like the first 2 motifs I sort of look at. Like Queen H2 threatens down the H file and it eyes the E5 square. So that looks like a nice utilization of actually both of those 2 things. So here, the only way to stop the pieces going down the H file would be Rook H8 and then Queen E5, and you just sort of use both of those motifs at once. And whenever you're sort of like, oh, maybe it's this or this, and you find that move like Queen H2, which does both of them, you sort of know you're on the right track.
Exactly. And you nailed that one. Queen E5 check. The puzzle ends after King G8 just take on H8, and I assume just castling queenside, bringing that rook into the game. Probably just G takes F6. Why do I even need a castle? I'll bring a pawn in to deliver a checkmate. But you're absolutely right, just to go back to the beginning, instant replay, that what Aman is saying is this queen needs to be on H6, H7, H8. Get my queen to the H file to deliver mate. But also, if my queen were on E5, then this king is running into similar problems because of the H file being open. So Queen H2 solves both at once, and that was what Jimis was able to find, and Maxime, unfortunately for him, did not. And one more puzzle to look at before we get to the next position. This one, Jimis made a mistake in, because after King F6, Queen takes H5. Turns out the move is simply pawn to G2. And the point is, after Queen F3, I just take your bishop, you take my pawn, and then black is in an endgame up a pawn. Not an easy one, when the solution is simply just being up a pawn rather than getting a new queen. But, these are not out of the realm of possibility for a puzzle battler like Jimis to solve.
For sure. But I think that those are the ones that are in that territory of ones that you don't necessarily have memorized, and it's not necessarily clear. Like, I think even the last puzzle that he did, the last one he got wrong for number 49, it was like basically just his king was in check, and he had like 5 options of where to move it, and you just got to pick them. Like, those are the hardest ones to calculate. Like, how are you going to sit there with 5 seconds ticking down and determine, all the possible queen checks that arise after moving your king?
Right, and the final position was actually very similar to the one that he got wrong that we just showed. So clearly that, just trying to promote a pawn when a lot of other things are happening on the board is something that is difficult for these amazing problem solvers to come up with on the fly. So we're going into the next round right now. Jimis versus Leon Beast. Maxime down 12 in the early going. And honestly, at this point, I'm wondering, is Maxime going to get blanked?
Yeah, blanked is in, like, is he ever going to tip the score the other way, or is it just going to be Jimis? How many points can he rack up, essentially?
Exactly the question I'm wondering, because right now Jimis still toe-to-toe with Maxime, and this one even slightly ahead at this point. And yeah, just so difficult because Jimis, like we keep saying, he doesn't get them wrong until the 40s. And you can't get confidence in someone who's competing against him, because Alireza, we looked at Alireza versus Christopher Yu. Alireza would get some in the 20s wrong. There's one he mouse slipped on the second problem, I think. Yep. And Jimis just doesn't make those mistakes. And actually MVL with the first mistake in this one.
Yep. Yeah, a little slip up there. I think he forgot that the rook on H1 was hanging in that puzzle. But it's just the decisiveness, I want to say, of Jimis. When he gets into these positions, he doesn't seem to hesitate. Right? It's just a processing time for him.
Yeah, it's really impressive. But Maxime keeping it close for a bit here. Jimis with a mistake.
That's an early mistake for his standards. I think that Maxime is on the puzzle there. There we go. So Maxime got that one right that Jimis got wrong.
Well, that's good news for Maxime. He's proving that, I can get these right along the way here. And he's keeping this one pretty close, because with a minute and 20 seconds left and one incorrect answer per side. Nope, not what you wanted to say. I was about to say, I didn't even get to curse it yet. I was about to say the side that gets the second incorrect answer, the second X, is going to be in huge trouble. Right. And unfortunately for Maxime, it was him first. And that's never a good look.
Yeah, just the king and pawn endgame win there for Jimis in that one. And now, Queen H2. That's a cute one. That's a cute one.
Well, Jimis still chugging along here, up 5. Only one mistake for him, now up 6. And, that was nice. Just intermezzo, gives some checks. So this one has to be a mating net somehow. Like,
how do Queen F1 and F5.
Mm-hmm. There are things that we look immediately like, okay, I recognize what's going on here. And wow, Jimis, what was that? That puzzle was insane.
I mean, but it just happens so quickly that you almost stop. You never appreciate like how good it really is. Because, did he just fall for a stalemate? That was really funny, actually.
He fell for a stalemate. I missed that, but
because it looks so obvious. Queen A3 takes F8, but it's actually a stalemate.
Okay, so let me pull that one up.
That's so unfair. That's so unfair.
Let me pull that up really fast here. And so we have all of these to go over. Okay, so let us know. So what happened here? So knight f4 was check.
Yeah, so of course he solves it, right? Beautifully. Queen a3, and then he takes the queen. Why wouldn't you after king e5?
Oh, knight g6 is necessary because queen f8, king has no safe squares, and it's not in check. That is just nuts, right? Like, oh my God, that's so upsetting, so annoying. I know that I've done plenty of puzzles where I'm getting it right? One move, two moves, and then, oh boy, stalemate. So that's frustrating for him. But, he did managed to do very well again. He 9-point lead in this one. And this puzzle really just surprised me because rook f3 was the move here, and queen to b2, essentially allowing your queen to get trapped. When we go back to the start of the position, the queen was, just from the white perspective, the queen gets trapped here very quickly. And I guess it's just a simple position to saying, oh, white is up material. And he found that super quick. So I guess recognizing that in the start of this, that, once the queen captures here, it's out of moves. And for me, I would sit here and be like, wait a second, I just lost a very important pawn. Can I go g4 to attack the king? And he's just like, nope, rook f3, rook f2, done.
Yeah, no, the processing time, as I said, is just, he filters out the stuff that he shouldn't consider and immediately sort of zones in on either the best move or like one of the top two moves within 1 second.
Yeah, just absolutely bonkers. And I think there was one more that I had pulled up here that Maxime went wrong in, and it started off with bishop to b4, and I actually didn't see where he went wrong, but I assume
he played queen c8.
Yeah, I was about to say, I assume it was queen c8, making use of the fact that this bishop on b5 is pinned to the king. So queen c8 is one of those super tempting moves. The problem is after queen c8, I can even drop my queen back to d8 saying, well, I'll trade queens, but more to the point, king e7 gives up this rook on h8, but after bishop c3 check, well, it's you see this engine going up and down.
It doesn't even know what's going on.
It doesn't even know what's going on, not clear. And instead, bishop d7, knight takes e7, queen takes a8 is a free rook here, and white is up a rook. Whereas if you had taken with the other knight, then queen c8 comes in. Your only way to stop the check is the block. I take thanks to my bishop on g5.
Right. So right idea, maybe wrong order. I had to take that bishop first.
Exactly. And so Jimis 9-8. We see frame by frame score here. He is now up 21, +7, +5, +9. A 21-0 lead for Jimis 9-8.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't put scores up that are under 45, you have to wonder like what chance MVL has realistically, unless MVL starts keeping his early record like up to 30 a lot cleaner. His first rush was fantastic against Jimis. I think that was, for both of them, was like one of their best ones. But we'll see if he can get rid of those X's early on.
Yeah, and well, I'm just trying to think ahead, and I don't want to call it over because it's definitely not over. Especially if Jimis makes some careless mistake that we're not used to seeing, that will give Maxime a chance. But what I was going to get at was a player like Ray Robson definitely can compete with Jimis, but I'm not sure that Hans Niemann can. And the reason why I say that is because Hans has the ceiling that Jimis has, in the 50s, but Jimis doesn't have the floor. Like Hans will sometimes go all in and end up with a score like 30. And I've never seen that from Jimis. Look at his scores today, 50, 48, 47.
Yeah, no, it's true. The consistency is, I think I noticed that the most in Ray and Jimis in the way they solve these puzzles is that, maybe even Hans can potentially hit a higher score. Like you feel like he can hit the highest in some ways, like he has the crazy speed, but he's more susceptible to mistakes. And over I think the format that this championship is in, the consistency, I think, is rewarded in the long run.
Yep. And well, here Jimis goes. Speaking of consistent, out to about 30 with a minute 40 left. And I was just informed, Aman, that the high scores are 63. Both Jimis and Ray have hit 63 in the past.
That's insane.
I mean, what?
That's just insane. That's not allowed.
Like, most players can't even sniff 50. And by most players, I mean most players that have been this Puzzle Battle Championship. And Jimis was actually the first one to have an incorrect answer in this battle, but he's still 4 ahead of MVL.
Yep, and MVL takes an X right as you say that. So it's now evened up. But hey, 2 X's early on for Jimis before 40. This is one of the first times we've seen that.
2 X's before 40 sounds like a Paul Rudd movie. So, oh man, had to throw that one in there. But Jimis now taking his time. This is what I was talking about, though. This is the moments where Jimis can get a bit nervous because 2 incorrect, you start slowing down. You make a 3rd inaccuracy. And look at him; he's struggling on this one.
Yeah, MVL is. I mean, this is going to be his best one. He's coming back. The pressure's on Jimis, but he's not going to reduce the score by a lot, even if he manages to get ahead. However, he'll take it. This is definitely a slow one for Jimis. And as I say that, I mean, he's at 43 with 20 seconds. Like, who am I kidding?
Yeah, casual. 2 wrong and still getting there.
Crazy.
No worries. And
so
Jimis has
out at 45.
Okay, and this is MVL shot. Get a few right. Come on, Maxime. Got to root for the underdog here. Get it right, Maxime. Take on G8, take on E7. Yep, take E7.
Okay,
he got
it. And this one.
Ooh, and you see him just, he was so close there. So he loses by 1 to Jimis in that round, and he also only had 1 error throughout that. So let's talk about this position that I have here, because Jimis, this is what he does extremely well. Is here he actually was like, wait a second, I'm ahead in the score. I already have 2 mistakes. Let me slow it down and try to get this one correct. So the first move in the variation is white plays bishop to E3. And you see this queen on H3. You're very happy that it takes away the squares from the white king. But you need to somehow get a check, right? That's what you're trying to do. That's where all of your focus is. How do I get knight F3 check? How do I get knight E2 check? But if I take on H5, after queen H5, now I'm offering an exchange of queens, and the queen covers those 2 checking squares. So Jimis sat here for a while and then played the brilliant pawn H6 because the queen's trapped.
Yeah.
Like, my attention would not be on the fact that the queen didn't have squares. It'd be on the checkmate. But he sat and thought, was like, no, actually, this is not a checkmating pattern. It's a queen trap pattern. Really ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a really nice one, because all you think about is knight E2, knight F3. How do I get that mate in? And it's nothing to do with that.
Just simple H6, attack the queen, trap the queen, and you are all happy there. I mean, really just a puzzle that comes unexpectedly to the players. And let's, we're going to take a brief break. I'm going to grab some more water. I've been sitting in this chair for such a long period of time.
You deserve it.
But when we get back, we will have these final 6 battles of the quarterfinals of the 2020 World Puzzle Battle Championship. And we are back. We see the players on screen here. Jimis escaped with a 1-point win in the fourth frame of this Puzzle Battle World Championship quarterfinal. Aman, Maxime showed us some good stuff in that one. What does he need to do to not just be good, but to be great and actually take some points off of Jimis?
Well, it's a great question, Robert. I think the most important thing is that he needs a few things to happen that are not necessarily in his control. He needs Jimis to strike out more times when Jimis is in play. I mean, he can use his time and sort of figure these puzzles out eventually. But if he strikes out, Maxime can definitely put up big, high 40 numbers. So I think more of what happened to Jimis in that last round needs to happen if you're in Maxime's camp. And for Maxime, he's actually been doing pretty decent. He had a 38 where he struck out 3 times, I think a couple rushes ago, which was his, sort of his bad egg. But other than that, he's been putting up pretty decent numbers in the 40s. All we're seeing is just that Jimis is like doing insane right now. So it's like, don't take anything away from Maxime. He's putting up incredible scores, but what we're seeing from Jimis right now is really hard to beat.
Yeah, it's pretty much unheard of. We've seen Ray Robson put up some similar numbers, but that's about it. And well, that is a matchup that people are excited to see potentially in a final. But right now, it's Jimis, it's Maxime. And all right, liftoff. And for Maxime, that one has to give you some confidence. It was his highest score of the day, and it's a 44, which is good. But he also was disappointed not to score more, and he's out to a blazing start in this fifth battle.
Yep, you could see the visible disappointment on Maxime's face. For those that were watching the player cams at the end of that last rush, he wanted that last puzzle to get a tie in there against Jimis. But in the end, Jimis still won that match despite striking out 3 times. And wow, an early miss from MVL there.
Yeah, that was not a good one for Maxime. And I was actually just thinking to myself that one of the puzzles before that went on for too long. And then all of a sudden you get to a position that he should have solved easily and made a mistake. And now he's down a couple. He has 1x to Jimis's none. Tough. Uphill sledding from here.
The X is tough to take, but the other thing is that you end up falling behind. So it's almost like the time that it takes, like the lag in between. Jimis just gets that 5 seconds head start, and 5 seconds for Jimis doing these puzzles under 30. I mean, that's like 2 puzzles or something.
Yeah, and Jimis now up a few, only 0 incorrect, for Jimis. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Oh, you see Maxime, he just, threw the hand up. He's like, all right, this one's over.
Yeah, Bishop F3 comes in the way that Maxime chose to go with King H1. He just made it himself there, actually. So he's out early, which means that probably Jimis is only going to get credit for 10 points this round. I expect he'll score over 40, and even if he scores 50 points, it's not like he gets 20 points credit. He just gets 10.
Right. And yeah, he gets 10. That's the whole point, is that, you can win by 50. It'll still only count as plus 10. So actually he could stop right now, but why stop? If he can score over 50 right now, he's not going to be deterred. He doesn't care about it if it's only 10 points. He wants to break that 50. So will he be able to do it? Right now he's thinking there's got to be some queen d4 check.
Oh.
What happened there?
Well, I was trying to see what he did. Did the time no, the time didn't expire.
What happened? Did you claim a victory? What happened?
Yeah, maybe he claimed victory or something.
Well, yeah, can you do that?
I think you can, right? It's a regular puzzle battle, isn't it?
Yeah, and okay, well, either way. Right, so in the max point you can earn between the 2 players, right, is 10 points. So let's say you win, but we said this by 100, you're still only getting 10 points. But let's look at some of these puzzles here that were struggles for Maxime. I mean, this one here, Aman, you had pointed out that he walked himself into a checkmate, right? After queen g5 check, he put his king on h1, right? Yeah. Is that what he did? And then bishop f3 is a mate in 1.
Yeah, no, this is nothing to do with calculation. This is nothing against MVL. He was just literally puzzle rushing and went too fast. King h1 is not a reflection at all. He just played too quick and totally forgot. Because if you spend a second and think, it's actually easy to find the move because one of them checkmates you in 1. So you don't have to calculate, just go the other way.
Right, so king f1, and the whole point is bishop f3 still looks like a mating attack, but white checks first, so bishop takes g7, and the whole point is now your king's is in check. If you try to move up the board with the king h7, in comes a check on the diagonal, right? Well, I can take your rook on g8 with check. I can also play a queen c2 kind of check, and your king is quickly running out of square. Well, queen c2 might hang the bishop, but it still works. This is how good white's position is. I can just throw my rook into the action, rook d7 check. In fact, the black king is getting mated first.
Yeah.
So an unfortunate oversight by Maxime, and another problem that he got wrong, which, I mean, you give Maxime 2 seconds instead of 1 second on this move. He didn't play the very straightforward, this queen is trapped, bishop to b6.
Yeah, no, he was looking at knight b6 he played, and well, okay, if rook a7, knight takes c8. So I think he just looked at that quickly and said, okay, this is crushing. I mean, just from a chess perspective, one is not as good as the others. No question, bishop b6 is the answer. But hey, he saw basically material.
Right. You know, knight b6 looks good, but when you have bishop b6 and say, hey, thank you for your queen, good game, sir, that's where you should go. But okay, we now see that a big lead, 32 for Jimis there. Maxime, I think he's a bit dejected. I think he's a little over it, if I'm being honest. Just the way he, kind of gesticulated after that last battle. He said, okay, Jimis, you're too good. I can't handle you in this.
Yeah, the 30 score is certainly not helping anyone. I think if you're competing against, the players who have already qualified to the next round, if you're competing with anyone who can put up a 50 score, I think it's fair to say that you pretty much need to post 40s at the very least every rush. So the 38, the 30s definitely hurting Maxime here, and we see they're off as we're just past the halfway point, just at the halfway point in this match.
Yep, and Jimis claimed the win in that battle. In fact, it seemed he was almost apologetic that he was running up the score, even though that was not his intention. He's just focusing on the puzzles in front of him. And, well, why was he running up the score? Because we said this, we can say it so many times, you get maximum 10 points in the differential for a victory. So, good sportsmanship, honestly. I mean, he had no reason to stop it. He could have kept going. But,
I never know, like, first of all, every point is valuable. You never know if you're just going to choke out the next 5 puzzles. And seriously, like, he might need all the points he can get. So there's that perspective. And then there's like, if you're doing the puzzles, sometimes it helps to just do more puzzles. You get more practice for the next rounds. You're more warmed up. So there's a bunch of reasons I could see pretty valid for playing on there too.
Yeah, it's it can't hurt. You're just building on your lead, and not just in terms of the score, but in terms of the puzzles that you've seen and what you feeling confident in yourself. So I think that Jimis did a nice thing there. He should be applauded. Many other players would not do the same. But ultimately, he is running away with this match. He is up 32-0. He has 5 frames to go here. He's leading this match by about 3.5 puzzles at this point. And Maxime putting up an impressive showing still, and yet Jimis is the leader.
Yeah, Maxime tends to stay relatively close up until the 30 point mark. And then, as I said, like between 35 and 50, Jimis really starts to pull away. And here or there, Maxime may drop a puzzle. But we've definitely seen in that first rush, Maxime was super impressive, pretty much kept pace all the way. And the first X goes to Jimis over there, as Maxime's actually really turning on the jets here.
Man, Maxime 38, Jimis 1 incorrect answer, but still going at it. Look at that. Bishop takes e3 with a check, intermezzo here. Wow.
Oh, goodness.
How did he do that so quickly?
And was that a draw, or what was he even doing there?
I don't know, but I'm pulling up that puzzle because that was ridiculous. I didn't even get to see it. So we'll make sure to go over
because he's going to get mated on it. That was just insane. He processed that it's a draw that quickly.
And I mean, and he's 2 incorrect. So this actually, look at Maxime, 43.
Yeah.
With no mistakes. And
very good run for Maxime. But the thing is, I've always said there's no benefit to sitting there with 3 strikes in your hand. Use them. He's got to just toss pieces at this point, because you don't get points for a perfect run.
Right. And maybe you should, honestly, maybe you should get a little bit more credit when you're making a run towards perfection. And Jimis, third strike, he's out. But you were just saying, well, there's no more time left. So who cares if you have 3 X's or not? It's just about, scoring as much as possible. A 49 and he's analyzing the position. You see his face. He's just like, what did I do wrong? Oh, okay, that makes sense. Let me figure it out next time. But let's look at one position that Jimis went wrong in that actually Maxime scored correctly. It's the final position that Maxime did. And the whole point was that after pawn takes f7, we're in a king and pawn endgame where white queen's first. And after h1 equals queen, this is something that players learn through the years. It's one of these kind of positions where it's never happened in my game that I can recall, but it's something and the point is that this king is very well placed to help checkmate this king. And we see queen g7, queen a1 check. And the point is, after king to g2, wait, did you just give a check on the second rank, right? With queen to
b2, and then if king up to h3, I guess you keep checking.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you just keep this checking mechanism going. Mm-hmm. And the essential point is that, at a certain moment, I'm going to force you very close to your queen over here. And if you go king h3, now I finally got you.
Yep.
That's mate. And if you come back to g1, this is the point from the beginning. I have king to g3, and my queen is going to deliver a checkmate on one of these squares, depending on your move. So
yeah, and this makes sense, by the way, that it's one that MVL would get right over Jimis, because it's much less a tactic as just sort of like a theoretical thing. This is just, as a grandmaster, you definitely know this pattern inside and out.
Yep, but let's show the one where Jimis was able to get this one correct instantly. I didn't even get to see the position, but here in this one, the first one by Black was rook takes a3. He said rook b7, king d8, rook b8, and then rook b7 back. He recognized that because this king has no escape here, and even after you go f1, you're not getting e2. The best thing to do is make a draw by repetition with check, 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 check.
Yeah, I feel like that's one you have to have seen before. He barely even processed the position, and to know, I would say that's another thing in Puzzle Rush, which is really, really difficult, is when the puzzle requires you to draw. I think that's so hard to evaluate because it's tactics, right? You're always looking to win. Thinking, how do I win material? How do I win the game? How do I checkmate? Whatever it is. And when the puzzle is actually that you're so far behind that a draw is solving it, I think that's those are some of the toughest ones to solve.
Man, that is crazy. So I think you're right that this must be at the very least a theme he's seen before, but more likely he's seen that puzzle before. And you're right as well that when I see tactics, and the reason I don't like giving tactics to my students is because you're leading them on. You're saying, hey, there is something for you to find out. Whereas if you have a game, you miss tactics all the time. Like Hikaru Nakamura, Jan Nepomniachtchi, they see these tactics when they know that they're there. But sometimes they even miss a free rook hanging on e1 because nobody is informing you that there is a knockout blow. So, all right, we are getting into the next frame here, 35-0 in favor of Jimis. And also it's important to remind everybody of two things. One is that a player may withdraw once it's mathematically impossible to win. So, if you're down by 55 points or whatever, you could just throw in the towel. Makes sense, resigning. And also that Ray Robson's average score, the Spicy Caterpillar, was 47.3 over his 10 frames against Sam Sevian, whereas Jimis is currently sitting at 47, if I'm not mistaken. So...
wow. So neck and neck, and we'll see if Jimis can compete with that number, because that's a good milestone. I mean, Jimis and Spicy Caterpillar putting up some of the biggest averages I've ever even heard of. Yeah, and I wonder, Aman, if they'll get a puzzle as hard as the one that Firouzja got stumped on at the end. Yeah, that was a real tough one. I'd love to see how quickly Jimis would handle that puzzle, for example. That was a bizarre puzzle, and that was so hard. And they're both. Let's not forget, by the way, that MVL was pretty much at 45 last rush with no strikes, and sort of the strikes all came from the fact that time was ticking down, and he just sort of had to toss some pieces. So his last rush that we just saw was seriously like a really good one, but it's just Jimis happened to be better, put up 49 last time.
Yep, and I'm reading the some of the comments here. If you don't count the one Ray weighted, it's even higher. So apparently Ray, when you're already winning matches, I guess you end up. And we can say the same for Jimis, right? He scored that 45 because he claimed the match early, whereas he could have kept going. So it is what it is at this point. But both Ray Robson, the Spicy Caterpillar, and Jimis really just impressing the heck out of me. And Jimis has one incorrect answer, yet he's still up 3 on MVL. Oh, and then
it doesn't seem to phase him. Like when he gets one wrong, it's for someone else, like maybe for someone like me, it's you start to doubt yourself, you start to worry about getting the next X, maybe there's tilt. I think for Jimis, like getting one wrong is just inconvenient. Like it's just annoying. It's just like, oh damn, that sucks.
Yeah, things happen, but I'll get over it. And okay, Jimis now continuing his torrid pace. He is up many puzzles on MVL, and both have one incorrect. But yeah, this is sad for MVL because he's doing well, right? I mean,
he is doing well. Like all we're dealing with here is a really impressive, puzzle rush performance, and then just an insane puzzle rush performance.
Yeah, I mean they're moving more quickly than I can even look at the position half the time, and an end game mistake by Maxime.
Look at that, a 50. Okay, this is just insane. That's a 51 for sure.
He put up a 5.
Promotes the rook and rook a5. That's ridiculous. Did you see that?
I'm pulling that one up.
My goodness.
I'm pulling that one up.
This is a 52? No, he got it wrong.
So you jinxed him?
Was that 52?
You jinxed 51. Him? How could you?
Man.
How could you? Well,
dude, that last puzzle was so insane.
I have it up for us to see.
Oh my God.
That is such a ridiculous one where, I'm proud of the guy, really. Jimis is just super impressive. And this was the end game here where after King G2, it's clear that, okay, well, and look at the engine. The engine actually didn't recognize at first what the evaluation should be. It's going up and down, it's like trying to figure it out. But the whole point is I need to spring free my passed pawns. And check this out. B4, take the pawn. King F1, nice move saying your king isn't going to just go to G2 and push the pawn and try to mate my king on E1. So after King F1, King H2, B5, trying to stalemate yourself with this move with King H1. And A7 played. The whole point is that Black is playing H2, saying my king is going to have no escape scores. H2, got a rook. If you get a bishop, or if you get a knight, or if you get a queen, queen is a stalemate immediately. The king has no moves. The pawn is pinned to said king. If you get a bishop, same exact deal, same exact pin. If you get a knight, I go pawn to B6. And either you take my pawn or play knight C7 and I have no moves, or you'd lose the game immediately by moving the king out the way so I can get a queen.
Wow.
So instead, he promotes to a rook, and after B6, he plays rook to A5. I mean, what a move.
No, that's just ridiculous.
Rook to A5, so you take it, and then I go and get a queen. So just to finish this one off, I get a queen. You almost get a queen, but I mate you first. That is absolutely absurd.
No, that's insane. And it's when you see something like this happening on one side of the screen, it's so hard to focus on MVL's rush because you're just watching Jimis just at work, basically, just like absolutely crushing this, and you forget MVL's over there pretty much scoring a 44, which is like a really, really good score. But what Jimis is doing is incredible. He scored 51. He's 1 point shy of, I guess, the qualifier and the quarterfinals high score, which was 52 by Ray.
You're right, though, that Maxime is putting up some elite scores, but Jimis just happens to be on Mount Olympus. I mean, the guy is a puzzle battle god. And, as we see the results from today, you look at Jimis across the board on top there, 50, 48, 47, 45, 45, 49, 51. His low score was 45, which is absolutely look at Christopher Yu. He won his matchup. His high score was 45.
I know. Yeah, it's just... Just crazy. He's up against someone who's just really, really talented at Puzzle Rush.
Yep. And so, we do we have more? We do have more. So they're going at it some more here. And poor Maxime, this is a beatdown like he's probably never taken before. But I think he's going to be good spirited about it. It's just he's playing one of the best.
Yeah, he has the humility, and I think he knows that Jimis is extremely talented at this. And on top of that, I mean, isn't it also showing his sportsmanship that he's still playing? Because I believe it is technically mathematically impossible, right? There's only 3 rounds left. You get 10 points maximum per round. So I think Jimis has already officially won the match. But hey, Maxime is still here, and he's giving us more entertainment. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
The only way Jimis loses this match is if he, I don't know, something happens where he gets a 0 and Maxime gets a full free run, because that's the differential right now, 42-0. And Jimis would have to get really, 3 early mistakes. And that's the only way I think Maxime can catch up. But Maxime,
but you get 10 points per round, don't you?
Oh, you're right.
That's what I'm saying. It's just impossible. So it's like he's just giving us a show, which I appreciate.
I totally forgot. I'm here thinking, like, what is the actual way that Maxime can catch up? And you're totally right. If 10 is the max, he can literally default the next 3 matches and still win. So you're completely right. Thank you for that correction. And well, let's just enjoy the puzzle solving, because
exactly. That's what we're here for at the end of the day. And again, Maxime keeping pretty decent pace. He usually does, like, up until this point. And this is usually where Jimis starts to pull away, but neither guy has anything wrong so far.
Yep. Oh, and you just said that, and then MVL gets one wrong. So this time the curse is your fault, buddy.
Listen, at this point, just people getting them wrong all the time. It's just it's a curse to just speak. That's the issue.
It's true.
And as commentators, we're just lambs for the slaughter here.
There's nothing we can do about it. Look at this position by Jimis. Oh my, that was a nice one.
No, it's just crazy.
Jimis, you're a beast. And then you got one wrong. You let me down.
Go. Back on you.
Yeah, it's my fault. My bad. I take the blame for it. Yeah. So
what's this one? C5 have to start with. Oh my goodness. There we go. Maxime. Good stuff.
Okay, queen takes d5. Whoa. I mean, I'm looking at the position Jimis solves as a rook d1, then queen d3. I mean, the guy is just a monster.
Okay. What is going on? That one was king f2, I guess.
Okay, let me pull some of these up here. But Jimis wins with 48-38. And the guy continues to be absolutely ridiculous. So let's take a peek at some of these mistakes that happen, because I think we learn a lot from our mistakes. And so king g4 was the first move in this puzzle. And okay, so rook a4 check. Did he play rook a4 check, right?
Yeah, so he did rook a4, and then here he took and played a4.
Aha. So he played pawn to a4. But the problem with pawn to a4 is if you see the engine bar, let's do that one more time.
Yeah, whoops.
You see whoop, and down. And the problem with a4 is this pawn cuts off your queening from getting to the corner. So after king g3, a5, h4, a6, h3, a7, h2 with a check, right?
Yeah.
The whole point here is that, well, firstly, let's show why f2 doesn't work, because after king f1, h2, now I queen, and my queen actually covers the square. So that would be pushing the wrong pawn. So you push the h2 with check. The king has to go to h1 or else you get a queen, and then f2 comes, and here comes f1 winning the game. So that's why Aman is saying way back when.
Well, I was saying king f2, but it's actually just b4 to queen with a check on that square.
Yes, because king g4, this position actually loses for white, apparently, right. If you follow down this line, because after a or b4, it doesn't seem to matter. I go h4, you go b5, I go h3, and your king has to spend a tempo coming back, because otherwise I get a queen, and then you're just too slow here.
Yep.
So this is a long puzzle with so many, like a4 and king f2 both make perfect sense. b4, the last move that we are looking at, it wins, because once you get down here, as you said, you got to check that king on g3, and that's why instead of on a8, it's important to have the queen on b8 with the check, winning the game. Wow, that is a really deep puzzle, one that is so easy to miss, and one that was indeed missed. So, I mean, what can you say about that?
Yeah, no, it's the level. The level of these puzzles is extremely high, and then the solving ability is right there with it.
Well, here we go. We are getting to the ninth round of 10. So we're almost through here. Jimis is almost done, beating up on poor Maxime. But credit to Maxime, really a great showing by the Frenchman with 3 names. He's impressed me. His average score throughout this would probably be enough to beat some of the other competitors. Maybe even he would have been able to knock off Chris Yu if they were going head to head. So he just matched up against, one of the 2 top dogs.
Yep, no question about it. It's a lot about what you can score, but the other half of this puzzle battle is what your opponent's capable of, and unfortunately for Maxime, he's just outmatched today in that format.
Yep, and
mouse slip there from Jimis, rare, but he actually just slipped King D8 trying to take that bishop on D7. So you see. The mouse failure actually does occur, and wow, another one wrong for Jimis.
So Jimis, 2 incorrect, only at 22, but he's already won this match. So now it's just Maxime's time to shine. Come on, Maxime. Come on, Maxime.
Well, you got to win this one. Is Jimis going to strike out, do you think, or is he just going to go on a tear?
I think he's going on a tear.
Because
Queen G7.
Let's get a win for Maxime, and that's what we need.
All right, let's focus on. Well, they're on the same puzzle now, or they just were.
Oh yeah, because of the 2 mistakes.
Yep, and look at Jimis solving what Maxime just solved. Oh, but Maxime up 3.
Yep. Rookie 8. So he has got to be careful here.
Queen takes H8 and then Rookie 8 check, and you're up a piece. That's the
MVL
solution.
did that one so quick too.
Yeah, MVL is on fire right now. We'll get a knight. Promote to a knight. Oh, okay. A queen's better.
Yeah, that works too.
I want to promote to a knight because it's check, but that's how you get these puzzles wrong. It's like, the answer is promotion.
Yeah.
And Jimis just shook his head. He's thinking about the knight promotion. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's on that tricky one.
He got it. Oh man, the pressure.
He won
Rookie 8. Queenie 1. He's got this one too. But Maxime is 5 ahead, right? As you can see, having those 2 strikes. If that happened more often to Jimis, it causes him to slow way down.
Yep. And, he just can't afford to have these mistakes happen. But right now, this puzzle is confusing Maxime as the queen on E7.
Oh,
what the material?
Bishop D5. He just played it. Jimis did. Oh, and he got it too now.
Yep.
They're neck and neck.
Wait, this is the one that Sevian won on. Did you see that position?
They're neck and neck. No, I missed it. I think I missed it.
So Sevian qualified for the quarterfinals by the position that Maxime solved. So I'm actually going to pull that one up because I recognize it.
4 down to the wire. Oh, he got one right. Is he going to win? Oh.
It's a tie. It's a tie down the stretch. Goodness. It is a tie. And so Jimis, let me pull up some of his earlier puzzles that he went wrong on because, well, it was surprising to see him make mistakes so early in the puzzle battle, but I'm pulling them up just so I can show everybody where things went wrong here. And give me a quick sec. So, okay. So we have one position where Jimis made an early mistake. And Aman, do you remember the move that he played here?
In this position? Well, this is just Queen A5, Knight A5, Bishop D7. He mouse slipped and played King D8.
Oh, that's the mouse. I was like, wait, how do you get this puzzle wrong? It looks like a free piece.
Yeah.
Because Bishop A5 is one of those moves where if you forget your opponent's from Bishop D7 to block the pin, you play a move like Bishop A5 trying to trap the queen, but you can just take it off the board. And King D8, that's an annoying mouse slip. But what I wanted to point out was this position here, which is the one that Sam Sevian, he got it right at the buzzer to qualify for the quarterfinals. He found Queen B8, and after Knight D6 trapping the queen, well, I can distract your queen, which is covering very important squares here, by playing A5. So after Queen A5, I have Queen A7. Out comes my queen. Up a full rook is white. And that was the one that qualified Sam Sevian for these quarterfinals. But okay, we have these 2 worthy competitors. Maxime is a beast.
Well, let's not forget, we are going to award him the win because he had less mistakes. And technically in puzzle battle, you do get the win, right? If it's tied, you have less mistakes. That I think that's a win.
Yep.
So there you go. No adoption.
No adoption. It has to be a win in his book, and still 52-0. On the shuffleboard scoring, and I think we have just one match left. So we have one final battle between Maxime and Jimis, and Maxime would have defeated Christopher Yu. So, you got to give the guy some credit here. He's beat one of the if they were playing head to head, he would have beaten one of the semifinalists. He's been just absolutely impressive. Sadly for him, Jimis is, just a wee bit better when it comes to these puzzle battles.
Yeah, Jimis, let's not forget, he had 21 with 2 strikes. And then he proceeded to get 24 in a row. I mean, that's with all the pressure on the line, any mistake could just be over. You take extra time and everything. I think that's a super impressive score considering that.
Yeah, and I see we have Jan Nepomniachtchi in the chat after after his recent loss in the SEC. But congratulations again to Jan Nepomniachtchi for qualifying for the candidates. He has an opportunity to perhaps face Magnus Carlsen if he's able to get through that event. Very tough event, but of course, our best wishes to Jan. And thank you for entertaining us with that great match against Hikaru. But we have one final puzzle battle ahead of us, and will Jimis score under 45? That's the question I have. Aman, you call it. Will he?
No, he's going to score above 45. The question is always like with these guys, like how many 50s are they going to hit? In one match. I just hope that they leave it all on the table. I'm rooting for a really good final rush from MVL because he's come so close to getting a higher score than Jimis a few times, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Right. And we see that both players keeping pace. 22 with still 10 seconds to go in the first minute. That is really good speed here. Yep. And, Ray Robson, I've seen him do this a bunch. He's very consistent. I wouldn't see him as the type to jump out to, a 27, 28 first minute. Oh, mistake by Jimis.
Let's see. Will MVL get this one right? Yes, he does.
He does, yes. And so MVL showing that, he's going exactly toe-to-toe with Jimis. But Jimis, despite that mistake, he's still a little bit ahead.
Yeah, as I said, when Jimis gets one wrong, it's just inconvenient. It doesn't slow him down at all.
Yeah, he's real, real good. And okay, bishop takes e2, bishop takes c4, free piece. I'm looking at Jimis's board. Okay, he just knew to draw.
It's just a draw, yeah.
Man,
that's.
Oh my gosh, that was. Okay, I'm pulling that one up. I'm pulling that one up to show later because that happened faster than we could even see the moves unfolding. That was ridiculous.
So quick, and sometimes it's the actual problem, and you're blown away by the combination. And other times the combination is nice, but not incredible. But it's the speed at which they play it, and it's just crazy. Let's not forget 2 strikes for Jimis. MVL going toe to toe. This could be the one for MVL to finally score more points than him. Let's see.
All right, MVL, you only have. Oh nope. No. As soon as I was saying that, okay, never mind. I retire. I'm done with this. It's the last round here. Jimis, he scored his 45. You were right, Aman. Can't be stopped. Can't be deterred. Nobody is preventing him from a 45.
Oh, man. And what a tough one here for MVL. That's a time killer.
And now I'm curious if he would have beaten Ray Robson.
With Jimis' scores, I think it's going to be extremely close. He never scored under 45, but at the same time, I think Ray had more high scores than Jimis.
All right, well, in fact, he would have beaten Ray, apparently. I'm trying to ask our team but the average doesn't mean. Okay, it said apparently Jimis had 47.5 average to Ray's 47.3.
Oof.
Wow.
My goodness. So what would it be like? Like a single point or something?
And he stopped early on a few of them too. So Jimis is a beast. I want to show one final position just to show everybody how good Jimis is. And after that, we're going to wrap up, show everybody the scores. But one last position to look at is this one here where, Aman, we barely got to turn our heads and look at the puzzle. And he's playing rook d7 check. That's the first move that we would have seen. We saw queen c8 check. Then he takes on a7, and I'm looking like, okay, wait, where's the mate? And he just plays rook a4 check instantly. Yeah. And the point is the king is all forced. King takes, queen a6 check, king b4, queen b5 is mated. Just dazzling display.
And I have to shout out MVL because we saw it on Jimis's screen first, but MVL also aced this puzzle too, rook a4. So he had this one no problem as well.
Well, he may have had no problem with the puzzle, but as we bring up the scores from today's action in both of the final two quarterfinals, we see that Christopher Yu barely got by Alireza Firouzja, 22-21. On the other hand, Dimitrios Ladopoulos, that's Jimis 9-8. The guy is a monster, 57-0. Takes out the beast from Lyon, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. You know, he's got all his accolades and over-the-board chess, but something about the puzzle solving is Jimis 9-8 for the taking. And it's just really a dazzling display. It just reminded everybody what's coming up in the next few days, the week ahead in the Pro Chess League. Starts tomorrow. Yes, everybody who's wondering, who's worried that I won't be here, I will be here covering the action. The Western Division gets underway tomorrow. The first three matches, 11 a.m. Pacific, the UK Lions against the Argentina Krakens. The Chicago Wind, Ray Robson on that squad, taking on the Brazil Capybaras. The Canada Chess Bras, Aman, I'm sure you're bringing us some coverage of that tomorrow, aren't you?
Yes, we'll be covering on the Chess Bra channel.
And your team is super strong with the likes of Alireza Firouzja and Alexander Grishuk headlining a cast that also has Eric Hansen and, well, many more GMs, if I'm being frank. But I have to be honest with everybody, the final match of tomorrow's day is the premier matchup. The New York Marshals, headlined by Hikaru Nakamura, taking on the St. Louis Archbishops that have the strongest Olympiad team in the world, if it was an Olympiad team. Lei Kwang Liem, 27-15 or whatever his rating is the fourth board. They have Fabiano Caruana at top. They have Wesley So and Lenier Dominguez in the middle two boards. That is just, I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Naka was saying it's basically him playing against the rest of his team.
It is. And, you know, throwing Lei Kwang Liem there and, you know, it's all there. So, well, we're actually going to be right back, and we're not ending just yet because we actually have an interview ahead. I won't tell you who it's with. You can probably guess, but we're going to take a very short break so we can bring in a great interviewee. Stay tuned, everybody.
one.
And we are here with the man of the hour, the Greek gift, Dimitrios Laudopoulos. Dimitrios, known as Jimis 9-8, congratulations on a dominant performance against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. How are you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling great, obviously, how I can feel. I don't think I can feel somewhat different. I mean, I also performed very well in general. Okay, that one, 45, even though it wasn't too low, it was a bad one because I made 2 misclicks, but okay. Man, in general, it was very great, I think.
Well, Aman and we were dazzled by your performance today. And can you kind of go tell us how do you approach each puzzle battle? Is it sort of the same mindset every time, or do you have a specific strategy depending on how your opponent is performing against you?
I mean, in general, I don't look actually at my opponent's scores. I mean, I did on Alireza in like the first 2 or 3 rounds, and then I completely lifted. I try just to solve the puzzles. I mean, unless I'm playing someone like Ray or Hans, I mean, I'm just only race. It's like I'm rushing in general. But okay, I think that's the most optimal approach you can have for this game. I mean, okay, of course, you have to be a lot more careful because there are those mistakes where you cannot restart if you miss it.
Right.
Yeah.
In general, it's almost as a rush for me, personally.
You had a few mistakes early on in some of these rushes. How does it feel when you have 2 errors? Do you change the way that you do the puzzles? Are you more nervous because anything wrong means all of a sudden you might finish with a really low score?
Yes, of course. I'm not sure if it was visible, but I was really nervous because it was like misclicks, not wrongs. Yeah, wrong. So I got frustrated a bit anxious, but okay. I was already winning, I think, so it wasn't so huge deal. But okay,
Yeah, no, you're totally right. When you had the lead, it's okay. But let's talk about when you move into the semifinals and you play some of these puzzle battlers like Hans Niemann and perhaps eventually somebody like Ray Robson. How do you kind of right the ship there? How do you prevent yourself? Of course, clicking the right square is a good first start, but what kind of different mindset do you think you're going to have against those two?
I mean, I guess I have to be more careful, actually. I mean, I think that's my biggest leak. Because I think I have I'm fast enough. I mean, I don't think I lack of this, even on 40s, 45s. But okay, I think I'm impatient in many of those problems. Like I spent 2 or 3 seconds when I should spend like 10, and I ended up making wrong.
Yeah.
But okay, I don't think it's gonna change nothing very much. The same actually. But I don't know. It depends actually. Maybe I'm nervous in that day, so I hope it's the same.
And that makes sense. And I have to ask you the question because a lot of people are wondering, what percentage of the puzzles do you think you've memorized?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I want to be honest, but it's not like my level is like at 25 and with memorization it goes to 50. I mean, my level, I think even the first day you put the 120K puzzles, I scored 50 on 3 minutes. So, I mean, it wasn't only memorization, but of course it helps with some 40, after the 43 score, 42. I mean, it really helps to have an idea. I mean, I basically don't memorize exactly the solution, but just the patterns. And very few problems, I just know the exact moves.
Right.
I mean, I can't recall some of them. Okay.
No, it's totally fair, right? You're having the themes under your wing is a very big help, but can that also be a distraction sometimes where you look at a position that seems familiar, but there's one really great puzzle you solved that you spent some time on. It was with a black queen on h3, and it looks like you're going for a mating net, but then you play the very comp pawn to h6, and you simply trap the queen. So you solved that puzzle on your own, and both Aman and I were very impressed that you took the time and didn't make some other checkmating move.
Yes, I mean, I didn't find someone. It was like one I haven't seen, I think, never. But I don't remember it at all. So I didn't find anything. Maybe then I realized the queen is trapped or what. So, I mean, if there is not something specific clear, I think you don't have to overanalyze it sometimes and be like, it's not like in real chess when the best move is actually on that is gonna give you an advantage, let's say 0.9 or something. But I mean, it's puzzle rush, so I guess it's win or not.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. Aman, you got any more questions for our illustrious puzzle battler here?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I wanted to know was how you feel moving forward in this competition, because coming up you're going to be facing off against Hans Niemann in the next round here. So, I mean, have you played him in Puzzle Rush before on Chess.com, and how do you feel about going up against him and how that matchup looks?
I mean, I think we played Niemann quite some times. I mean, not so much as Ray, but we have played obviously because puzzle battle doesn't play. So I mean, don't fuck. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Don't worry. No need to apologize.
Not many people were playing puzzle battle before the tournament, so
not a lot of people
find some same opponents. But we have played sometimes. He is pretty strong. I mean, one thing about Niemann, I think he's pretty unbalanced. I mean, in Ray, I can somehow know what I have to do if I want to have a chance to win. But with Niemann, I'm not sure actually. I mean, he performs like from 30 to 50 plus easily.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about that. The potential to score really high, but also really low. So more riskier, but
that's a really annoying actual thing. But okay, I'll try to focus on my results and not others.
Okay, well, we're very focused on your results. You've been extraordinary thus far. Your low score of today was 45. I don't know if you know this, but your average was even higher than Ray Robson's was. And of course, at different stages in the match, you probably both could have scored more at points. Like you claimed a win, for example, that match against MVL. But really, huge congratulations, Dimitrios. We're very excited to see your performance, and we look forward to seeing you again in the semifinals.
Thank you. One point I want to mention is that I think the main reason is that I think Ray Robson made a really nice move on one and scored 42 or what because he waited his opponent, I think. I mean, I saw it like today, I saw yesterday's stream.
Yep.
Maybe that's the reason also. Not sure how the other scores went, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going to matter. What happened in the past is now in the past. You both have moved on, but you both showed good sportsmanship. And again, congratulations. And I really look forward to seeing you in the semifinals against Hans Niemann.
Thank you very much.
Well, what a show it's been. We see the bracket on screen here. Dimitrios Ladopoulos, it's Jimis 9. I like his name. I actually love Greek names. And he moves on as the 2 seed to face Hans Niemann, who at the 6 seed feels underseeded, but he is going to have his hands full and then some against Dimitrios there in the semis. On the other hand, the other side of the bracket, we see Ray Robson taking on Christopher Yu. And of course, let's recap what happened today. Aman, anything stand out to you? Anything you're looking forward to? I mean, give us your thoughts here as we wrap up the show.
Well, I think one thing that's interesting, I know that Naka was actually seeded higher than Hans Niemann, but okay, personally, I felt like Hans was probably the favorite going in. I mean, not overwhelming or anything, but I think he was definitely the favorite. So what I think we actually have are the top 4 seeds. If you think of who was maybe the favorites going into the matches, Christopher Yu, Ladopoulos, Ray Robson, and Hans Niemann are through to the next round. So it should be pretty exciting going forward. Today, unfortunately, we just saw MVL outclassed in puzzle battle. It's not a reflection on anything else, but Jimis, had more puzzles memorized, had more experience, and was just quicker today. So I think a lot of people expected the result that we saw, which was Jimis moving on. And then we had that really exciting match earlier today, which could have gone either way for Firouzja and Christopher Yu. So some exciting puzzle rushing today, Robert.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm tired, honestly, seeing all these tactics fly, whether it was in the first quarterfinal between Alireza and Christopher Yu. Then I had the Speed Chess Championship match between Hikaru Nakamura and Jan Nepomniachtchi. And finally, Jimis 9-8, Dimitrios Ladopoulos takes out Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. So a really excellent day here with many different events on Chess.com. I'm excited for the semifinals. And of course, one last mention has to be made for the Pro Chess League, which begins tomorrow. But Aman, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've had great joy covering this action with you. So many puzzles that we couldn't even get our eyes on before they were solved. But, you know, it really was a fantastic show. And I thank you so much for joining me for the ride.
Yeah, that was awesome. Robert's had a long day, guys. A couple puzzle rushes and the SEC commentary. So he's been working hard today, but it's been a pleasure and lots of fun puzzles and exciting to watch the first puzzle Battle World Championship.
Absolutely. All right. Goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow.